Good morning, IVC kids and families. I'm Miss Teri, and I have a new story for you today. We're going to start, since this is the beginning of August, we're going to start a new unit, and we're going to start talking about how indescribable God is and how his creativity has no limits. And there's no better story to start with to talk about God's creativity than Genesis 1:1. We're going to talk about the first chapter in Genesis today. So, I want you to picture with me water. Now, if you think about it, water really has no shape. I mean, if you put it in a glass, then it's the shape of the glass. If you put it in a bowl, it's the shape of a bowl. If you put it in a swimming pool, it's the shape of the swimming pool. But water itself has no shape. That is what the world looked like when God started. It was like water, and it was just formless, and it had no shape, and it was dark. It was just dark water. And God said, "Let there be light." And all of a sudden, it was not just dark and formless, it was light. And there was light, and there was dark. And God separated the two. And he called the light day, and he called the dark night. And that was the first day. And God looked at it and he said, "This is good." Then there was evening and morning, and that was the first day. The second day, okay, we still got this formless water going around for us. He takes the water and he pushes some of it up and he pushes some of it down, and the water up here is above the heavens and the water here is below, and he calls the space sky. And he says, "This is good." So the second day, he creates sky with water above and water below. And it was evening and morning, and that was the second day. The third day, God took all that water that was down here, and he put it in groups. So some of it was like in an ocean, and some of it was in a pond, and some of it was in a river or a lake. And in between all these waters, there was land. And all over the land, he brought forth vegetation. And he had seed-bearing plants and trees that had seed-bearing fruit. And the seeds would grow whatever kind of plant they came from. So there were plants and there were trees that would grow the same kind of fruit as the seeds. And he looked at it and he said, "This is good." And he had evening and morning, and that was what am I up to? That was the fourth day. Nope, that was the third day. The fourth day, he took the lights. See, they're tricking me in the back. The fourth day in the lights, they put the lights in a container kind of like thing. So there was a sun. And what do you think they made for a night? You're right, they made a moon. So they had the big light for day and the smaller light for night. And that was the moon and the sun. And then he made beautiful stars to go. And so because we had a sun and a moon and stars, now we could have a day, we could have a week, we could have a year, and we could have seasons. And God looked and he said, "This is good." And it was evening and it's morning, and that was the fourth day. On the fifth day, God created the birds to fly, creatures to fly in the sky, and he created water creatures to go in the land, like fish and sharks and whales and jellyfish. And in the sky were sparrows and cardinals and owls and all kinds of flying birds. And he said, you will have offspring that are just like what you are. So the fish made more fish and the birds made more birds. And he looked at all of this and he said, "Oh, this is good." And there was evening and morning, and that was the fifth day. On the sixth day, God said, "We need some animals." And he created livestock, he created wild animals, and little scurry animals, little small animals. So livestock would be like cows, pigs, and sheep, things that you might think about on a farm. And then the wild animals, I bet you can think of some wild animals. I bet there were some bears and some lions and a giraffe, an elephant. He created all those wild animals. And then the little scurry ones, like the ones we play with, the cats and the dogs and, probably some mice or maybe some squirrels and some chipmunks. They were so cute little scurry animals. And he said, and you will all be fruitful and multiply, and you will have the same kind of offspring that you are. So giraffes would have giraffes, and hippopotamuses would have hippopotamuses, and little squirrels would have little squirrels. And he said, now I've saved the best for last. My best creation is going to be a human. And the humans were created in God's image, which means we're a little bit like God. So we could think, we could be creative, we can love, all those great things that God can do. He put those little pieces of that in us, and he created humans. And he looked at all he had created, and he said, this is very good. So that was the 6th day. The 7th day, I bet you're wondering what he did on the 7th day. He took a nap. Okay, not really, but he rested. And he made that day holy. And he set an example for us that we would remember to take a break from our work, that we would rest, and that we would remember the Creator who made all of these great creative things for us, the creation. And so today, on the 7th day, or whenever you're watching this, I want you to think about the Creator and all the things that he created. And maybe while your parents are watching the rest of it, maybe you could even draw a picture. You could pick your favorite day of creation and draw that. Maybe it's the mountains or the clouds or the sun and the stars, or maybe it's an animal, or maybe it's a human. But draw a picture of something from creation that God created, and remember that there's no limit to God's creativity. We're going to be talking about that the rest of August. And stay tuned and watch, because we're going to start sending some stuff out for families and kids to do together, some activities. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to that, especially like on the website and the emails, because we'll be giving you more information about that. But just remember that there's no limit to God's creativity, and enjoy that this week.